10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And hello, drag racing fan, live right here on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and also X. Hit the like button, hit the share button on the Power Hour. We are live. Hello, I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, and be flying solo tonight. Dujane Bland, my co-host, he is feeling under the weather, so we're going to be directing the show forward without him, as we do have scheduled and hope to have on two great guests in NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle great Steve Johnson, and certainly timely with them being back in competition at ZMAX Dragway for the NHRA 4-Wide Nationals and everything that's been going on in Pro Stock Motorcycle, in particular the chatter. Let him weigh in on matters as someone that has been in the class for so long, has seen so many changes and transitions, ebbs and flows of that class, and has performed at the highest level, and get his opinion and take on it, and also just dive in on his weekend back in competition for Pro Stock Motorcycle at ZMAX Dragway. And then we also have scheduled Tricky Rickie Smith, and he threw another trick out there at ZMAX Dragway. The Pro Mod was hitting the strip, but it wasn't in 4-wide competition. It wasn't in Pro Mod competition because Pro Mod was not in competition for this particular national event in the NHRA. Rather, he was competing in Competition Eliminator. Love here on the Competition Plus Power Hour to get his take on that, why, what it was like, and you start diving into the history of it. It is certainly interesting concerning Rickie Smith and this venture into Competition Eliminator. A lot of great articles are already online at CompetitionPlus.com, the place where you can believe what you read on the internet concerning drag racing, concerning Rickie Smith's run in Competition Eliminator. Not only did he run in it, but he won the NHRA 4-Wide Nationals in Competition Eliminator at ZMAX Dragway. Effectively a home race for him. Resident in North Carolina, and defending the home turf and showcasing that the pro mods can run elsewhere. And that is the beautiful thing about Competition Eliminator. If you can come up with it, you can run it in Competition Eliminator. I think, in essence, the only rules of what you cannot run anything on nitromethane, and it can't be a funny car. That's about it, from what I can recall about Competition Eliminator. Now, you start diving in deeper, it can get rather complicated. As we had Jeff Taylor on last week here on the Competition Plus Power Hour, you can also understand it as Complicated Eliminator. Well, dive into the comments section here on the Power Hour as we continue to move forward. We've got Steve Johnson scheduled first. He hasn't popped into the green room quite as of yet, so we'll take your questions. We'll take what you want to talk about here on the Power Hour as we have the opportunity to the time before we have our guests on, and then maybe even do so afterwards. Lonnie V chimes in, says, Power Hour. Hey, appreciate the support. You know, we are just continuing the narrative here on Competition Plus Power Hour, talking about drag racing. There needs to be more talking about drag racing on YouTube, on podcasts, out there in the media, as far as journalism, and in the world of TikTok and Instagram Reels, wherever it might be. We need to talk it up because there are so many great storylines. And right now, I will say, when we talk about great storylines, it doesn't even have to necessarily be positive. Nonetheless, I do feel that, yes, we want positive storylines, but as the old saying goes, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Well, as long as people are talking about it and clicking on the like button and clicking on the button to have an angry face and to have a shock face and commenting on posts and sharing posts. Hey, look, That is a good thing. And that's what I want you to do right now. Dive into that comment section as we are waiting our first guest, and we'll see if I have Steve on. These guests were scheduled rather late. Hopefully, we'll have them both on here tonight, and you all aren't going to just hear me on the Power Hour. Drag Racing Mayhem says Lee got the whole show to himself. Now, well, I certainly would love to have Dugenet, but he is feeling under the weather. You guys pray for him and send positive thoughts if that's your thing, whatever it might be. And we'll have him back next week, I am sure. Hello, Blake. Thank you for chiming in. Andrew, has Angel's struggles surprised you? And I assume you are talking about Angel Sampay, and I would say I'm not sure that she is struggling. I think they're certainly adjusting to a new situation. That team is evolving and growing, but she hasn't had too terrible of races. I mean, when I think about her season so far, if I remember correctly, her season has got to off to a slower start because they just haven't entered that many races. She was at No Problem Raceway for the regional divisional action down there, and she went to the final round before her home crowd, losing to Jackie Frick. And then at the Gator Nationals, I cannot remember how she fared right off hand at the Gator Nationals. Car was running all right. They did qualify, and that was a tough field to qualify for. But she hasn't been running everything. And one reason for that, like, she didn't run Pomona. She didn't run the Four Wide Nationals at Las Vegas. She picks back up with the Four Wide Nationals here at ZMAX, if I remember correctly. And one reason why that has been the case is, well, Mahalet Brothers Racing is a bit more of an East Coast team. They're out of Ohio. East Coast races are a premium compared to running the West Coast races. And you're not going to see her at too many regionals. You're going to see her at enough regionals to try to have what is necessary to win a championship because of the sponsors involved. The sponsors are concerned about engagement, and they get more engagement at a national event. And if I remember correctly, ZMAX, I was only there Saturday briefly, but they picked up a round one win, but broke a rear end and had to put a new rear end, and I don't think she went any further. So I don't think there's struggles. They just haven't got her that win yet. I believe that is certainly going to happen for the Mahalet brothers and for her. And the good thing is a lot of partners are coming in and on that car and supporting her in this venture. And I think you can really see the gears turning, and they're oiled well right now, if you will, of the Antron Brown Motorsports Driver Development Program. It is looking really good. So I don't think I would classify it as struggles. Now, Andrew, if you've got something in particular you're thinking about, hey, put that in the comment section. Maybe it's something I'm not thinking about. Maybe it's something in driving. But, hey, there has been a final round appearance, and there has been round one victory this past weekend. I don't remember the Gator Nationals, but there just hadn't been that many races for her because of the way in which they are looking at their schedule. They're not running every race possible, especially right now, and you're going to see her more often at national events. I do believe she is going to be running the Indy Regional. That is a part of the Cletus and Cars event. That's happening this weekend at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So if you do want to see Top Alcohol in action amongst a great car culture crowd, that's going to be happening in Cletus and Cars for Top Alcohol Funny Car and Top Alcohol Dragster as well. And that is drawing people to compete at that event that I don't think normally you would see them compete at that event. I think of Maddie Gordon and that family, Northern California. They don't race too many East Coast races, but they run at ZMAX for the Four Wide Nationals, makes a semifinal appearance, and they also intend to run the regional with the Cletus and Cars event, which had a tremendous crowd last year, and if these alcohol competitors really work the crowd right, we can pick up some new fans. They can pick up some new fans and supporters, and never know what might be worked out far as marketing and the crossover between that crowd and those who are into NHRA top alcohol competition. Because the remark from last year of many of the competitors was that the crowd at a Cleus and Cars event, they didn't quite know what was going on with those cars. They understood the Burnout Pit. They understood the Crown Vic racing. They understood some of the names and figures surrounded by McFarland. But nonetheless, top alcohol competition, they were a bit stunned at what a top alcohol funny car was doing, what a top alcohol dragster was doing. And that is good for the sport. Exposure in a completely different light and way. And we need that more often. So I wouldn't classify struggles. Sean chimes in, certainly not a ton of laps for Angel yet. That's true. Needs more laps. Not a lot of laps this year in particular. But again, remember, and you can go see the video on Monday Morning Racer. I was down there and I filmed it. The regional at No Problem Raceway. They did good. They qualified. Went career best for her. If I remember correctly, up to that point. And I don't think they have bested it as of yet. And she made a final round appearance and had a good close race against Jackie Frick, which is always a tough competitor and a perennial championship favorite in the top alcohol dragster ranks. So I wouldn't classify struggles. Again, unless there's something specific that I'm missing, very well could be, I wouldn't classify it as struggles. You know, if you look at where she is on the points chart, well, her races are going to come in later in the year for her. And I think you're going to see her rise in the points as others don't pick up some races and she does. That's the interesting thing about top alcohol competition. You will have someone out there that they'll pick up a lot of races early, and then they'll have races later in the year that they don't compete at. Vice versa, you'll have someone that doesn't compete at a lot of races earlier, and then they pick up more races. So there is this pull and tug and collecting of points that you really have to weigh. You can look at someone and go, hey, they're first in points, but the competitor in third hasn't competed at the last two events, and they're only an event away in points. And you kind of have to do some theoretical math and point collecting, if you will, at sometimes with top alcohol for sure. Oh, let's see. Oh, funny. Drag Racing Mayhem. Stream has been DNQ'd as the NHRA tech department thinks it's too colorful. Well, we can talk about that in a few moments. So I want to give time. I don't know if we're going to have Steve or not. We've got Rickie scheduled for 9:20 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully we do have Rickie. Definitely want to have that conversation with him here on the show. And we'll talk about Bob Tasca and the, multicolored Manifold, getting a sip of coffee. Coffee's good any time of the day. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Lonnie V, how about Clay Millican running 337 miles per hour, almost 338? There were some impressive feats. Again, ZMAX can yield that. I mean, obviously, we're talking about the track that toward the end of last year for the Carolina Nationals, the two-wide race there, that we had Mike Salinas go 300 miles per hour in the eighth. So the tuners certainly can grab a hold of that track when weather conditions are right, and they can send them. I do think weather conditions were interesting, at least Saturday. Saturday was a day in which beautiful. Let me put it that way. Let me be clear. But I do wonder how tricky it would have been for the tuners, because you'd have moments where the sun was out, track is getting baked, and then a cloud would come over, and it would be a rather large cloud, and you would go into some deep shade type of situation. And I wonder how much that track fluctuated temperature-wise between all the sessions. it'd be interesting to have a tuner on, chat about that, and see their thoughts. So Drag Racing Mayhem, are you going to the Indy Regional? I will not be at the Indy Regional and won't be able to cover any of that regional this year as I did last year, because they are going to be contesting top alcohol competition on Friday and Saturday, and it will be done by Saturday, what I saw of the schedule for their eliminations. And I am slated to visit for the first time ever Killcare Raceway. The Southeast Gassers Association, they are competing at Killcare Raceway. They're in Xenia, Ohio. That is, southeast of Dayton, Ohio. Looking forward to going there and continuing coverage on the Southeast Gassers Association with a particular focus on the A-gas category. So many twists and turns for that organization, and in particular A-gas, with competitors coming in, competitors going out, some competitors saying they're not going to run the full season, but yet if they do run the full season, they're certainly a championship threat. And you've got people like Leslie Horn attempting to lower the record low into the fives in the 8th mile in these old gasser cars. And you've got Greg Steele. He's attempting to steal the record away from such types as the chick magnet Leslie Horn. A lot of great storylines in the Southeast Gassers Association at the moment, as usual. By the way, if you have never been, this is the event that comes the farthest north for the Southeast Gassers Association this year in 2024. So if you're thinking about this weekend, where you're going to go, what you're going to take in drag racing wise, if you're anywhere near Ohio, I can highly recommend the Southeast Gassers Association. They race on Saturday. Racing usually begins 1 p.m. or at noon. They qualify, roll right into racing most of the time, unless there's something that puts them really behind the schedule. You're talking about getting 2 rounds of qualifying and several rounds of elimination, sometimes even more than the traditional 4, because all the cars that are qualified, they run them. And we're sometimes talking about 20 cars per class. You can see a lot of drag racing, a lot of beautiful cars, and step on back to 1967 if as it were in the drag racing world, and usually get home leaving the track about 8 p.m. Not a bad day at the track at all. So if you're near Ohio this weekend, I highly recommend the Southeast Gassers Association to check it out. Andrew, thank you for chiming in, man. Appreciate it. Did you read the Drag Illustrated article on Brittany Force and sponsors? The simple question to that is no, I have not. A busy weekend for me. I'm not able to digest everything out there. You know, this past weekend for me was covering some local dirt track racing for the Carolina Sprint Tour in Gastonia, North Carolina, at Carolina Speedway. Then I covered some of the action Saturday at ZMAX Dragway. By the way, got Madison Gordon on camera, up and rising star in Top Alcohol Funny Car. There's a video on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel you can check out, and gives us an update of her transitioning. Even though she is already an accomplished driver, she has had a learning curve, and she explains in her own words what that learning curve has been like and why they are running on the East Coast so early in the year. And then Sunday had a function that the girlfriend was participating in that I wanted to be a part of as well. That was traveling from the Carolinas through Georgia back to Tennessee. Busy weekend, but glad to be right here taking each and every one of your questions right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Excuse me. Second part of Andrew's question is, why is JFR having a hard time getting sponsors for the dragsters? Is this a problem for everyone? You know, that's a good question. And thank you for submitting that, Andrew. I will admit, I don't think I have the full answer. I'll give you my take on it. I think that you might have a challenging situation for JFR to find sponsors, in particular for the dragsters, because that brand, John Force Racing in particular, is associated with what? Funny cars. So now I will also say, you know, the situation with Austin Prock I think that is a matter of you have a sponsor go away and probably suddenly because of the health issues behind the matter with Frank Teague. I think that probably played a bigger part, and they just weren't able to scramble and find in enough time to put a package together and have Austin out there in a top fuel dragster. Granted, with Robert Height's issues, whatever those issues may be, that's worked out fine. But in particular, I think you might see it as a situation that when you think John Force Racing, John Force, what? It's funny car racing. That's what comes to mind first, not dragsters. So that might be an issue for them in particular. Overall, there certainly are challenges. I think of Doug Foley. Doug Foley has a top fuel dragster that can go out there and compete. If I remember correctly from what I saw, I believe someone even commented, Lonnie says it in the comments, that Doug won a 73. He won a 73, 373, and that was the quickest ET in his quad, but he red lighted. And Doug is not known for red lighting, but Doug is attempting to be quicker on the tree than he has been in his career because it's just the nature of the game. So for someone that doesn't get that many laps in back to back, coming out, that team, Doug Cook and Lance Larson, run a 73 round one. That is impressive. Granted, they have a challenging time finding sponsors. Doug is always on the hunt trying to find those partners. Sean Reed, he's out there, and you have them running in what's on the side of the car. Sean Reed Trucking, it's his company. You have the Torrances out there. What's on the side of their car? Capco, Scrappers. What's on the, go on and on and on. So I don't know what, that's a fascinating question. That'd be an interesting deep dive on what is the situation marketing-wise, in particular with Top Fuel Dragsters over Funny Car in the Nitro ranks. Because as I sit here and we're doing this show live, I cannot help but think that the teams that seem to have sponsorship that is not associated with their own business out there, they also have a funny car program. And there's more than likely partnerships being crafted and created because you have that exposure from Funny Car and Top Fuel Dragster. I'd have to go back and look, make sure, but I make that observation while we're here on the show live. That's worth a deep dive. That's worth a deep dive. Heard anything about Jordan Vandergriff beyond testing for John Force Racing? Well, there is an article on CompetitionPlus.com. You can read it on CompetitionPlus.com, and Jordan goes on the record from what I understand, and he explains, and John Force explains, and there's more detail, even though maybe not all of it, but nonetheless, there is more on CompetitionPlus.com. Let me take the time to say this. I will say, Bobby Bennett and the team at CompetitionPlus.com on the journalism side, they put the work in and provide drag racing with news that most of the time you don't find anywhere else. And I appreciate that. There's so many times I will search something to try to find an answer, and lo and behold, it's CompetitionPlus.com with the answers, or the rumor mill that oftentimes turns true. I mean, it's like a almost 100% track record. So nonetheless, if you want to know what's going on in the world of drag racing, I'd say your first stop, it really needs to be CompetitionPlus.com. I am, again, waiting on first guest. We're supposed to have Steve. Well, it doesn't look like that's happening. And we're supposed to have Rickie, but I have not had him pop into the green room as of yet. So I'm going to take a quick break. We'll reset things and continue to take your questions here on the show. And if that's the show, then good show. We'll take your questions and we'll talk right here live on competitionplus.com. Brought to you by Weldon High Performance. Weldon High Performance, since 1942, they have been dedicated to the engineering, manufacturing of fuel system products. And they do that from flight to you flying through the finish line on the drag strip that you're competing on. Weldon High Performance, they can certainly pump you up. And back, Competition Plus TV, aka Bob Bennett, chimes in, lets us know Rickie is trying to connect now, so we'll certainly wait for Rickie Smith, give him all the time necessary. And Edward says Rickie Smith is the GOAT. It's hard to argue with that, for sure. How much longer will he compete? I think Rickie will compete as long as he can, until he is told by a doctor that it is clear in his mind he can't compete or he passes away. I don't see him really, truly ever retiring, because look at what he did this past weekend. You can still go out and compete, but it is in a different way, and it may not be chasing a championship, but whether it's him topping in a top field dragster once a year, or doing competition eliminator every now and then, or racing the big races, and that's it, he, I think, will continue to find a way to compete in drag racing. Now, also, don't forget, how much longer will he compete? I've seen Rickie at the track plenty of times and he wasn't in a car. That's still competing. Now, I know your question may be in reference first to him driving, but nonetheless, the competition side, well, Rickie's been out there in just tuning efforts as well, still competing. Again, I don't see Rickie stopping anytime soon. I mean, how many retirement announcements have we got? All right. Lonnie V, no, I will not resort to singing. You all do not want me to do that, for sure. Drag Racing Mayhem. It's all about how many people are watching. If we had 2 million people watch every week, we wouldn't be talking about sponsors as much, if at all. It would certainly help out having more eyeballs. I think overall this year, the coverage on FS1, when you look at those numbers, it does seem to have an upward trend from what I've seen. Certainly, there have been a couple of races, that the numbers were low, but there have been races this year that, even being on FS1, because if I remember correctly, we have not had a NHRA drag race on Fox as of yet this year. So the numbers on FS1 are always lower compared to being on Fox, but we have been able at times to beat out other motorsports brands on Fox Sports 1, such as the Truck Series for NASCAR. And I believe even one week we beat out the Xfinity Series with NASCAR. So there are certainly eyeballs. We need those eyeballs to grow. We need to figure out a way, I think, to get on Fox more often. And I'm saying this, and that's no news to anybody in the NHRA or anybody that does work with Fox or works with putting on the show. They're certainly, I believe, they are working towards those things. We've seen in the past NFL lead-ins and lead-outs, and that is people concerned about this product of NHRA drag racing in particular having more eyeballs. There are interesting discussions right now when it comes to TV, and in particular to Fox, though. There are reports out there that Fox is entertaining picking up IndyCar. A lot of their TV contracts are up at the end of the year, are up at the end of next year, and they're in negotiations on where they are going to land and find a home on TV. And one reason why Fox is fighting for those rights is because of the Indy 500. The fact of the matter is, the most watched motorsports event there is, it is the Indy 500. There is no arguing. So for anyone to have that a part of their TV portfolio package, it is a big deal. But when you're negotiating, hey, IndyCar, come over here, where does that put NHRA drag racing in the Fox portfolio, already also having NASCAR for the first half of its season? I imagine the TV talks right now are rather tremendous and treacherous for what is attempted to be put together for you all out there as motorsports enthusiasts to consume on the tube. Let's continue in the comment section. Yes, Competition Plus chimes in. The Jordan Vandergrift story was published on Sunday. Again, y'all can read that. You might have to hit the tab over just a little bit on the story lineup, but you will get over to it when you get a chance. So take the time. Take the time. 426 Hemi. I got to say, watching Rickie run in comp was the most entertaining of all the action for me. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Look, Competition Unlimited has got a lot going on for it, from the big money fund from Roof Tech and many other sponsors to this excitement of Rickie Smith, a legend in the sport, Hall of Famer of so many Hall of Fames, and has competed in so many categories, Pro Stock and NHRA Pro Mod, and done it in IHRA and done it in NHRA, and has set records, and I mean, you name it. Says, I'm going to run Competition Eliminator with a Pro Mod. Fascinating. That is so cool. And just shows the beauty of the class, too, that you can truly think it up and go out there and run it. Again, if I remember correctly, it can't be a funny car, and it cannot run nitromethane. And I think that's about it. The door is wide open in Competition Eliminator. And it is so cool. You see so many different things. I believe it was the semifinal matchup, if I remember correctly, for Rickie. He's going up against an altered. And he's in a Pro Mod. It is certainly a cool class out there in the NHRA. Excuse me, reading the comments. Hey, guys, yes. Can we please get more likes for tonight's show? 3 likes ain't cutting it, as Lonnie says. Yeah, if you're out there and you're watching, hit the like button. You know, put on these shows. You continue the narrative about drag racing. Take some questions from you all. Certainly, I wish I had Dujanay on with me. He's under the weather currently right now. And keep us up to date, Competition Plus TV, of how Rickie is doing and how far we might be from having him coming on, if at all. But thank you to each and every one watching as we just continue to talk about drag racing in all its forms. And I know we're talking a lot of NHRA right now, but feel free. We can go anywhere that you might want to go in the world of drag racing. So it is a great talk and conversation piece when we get to talk about NHRA, because it's doing it's just NHRA and drag racing, because so much of it is going on. Yes, it did. But when I refer to watching and most watched event, the Indy 500, it is that. And it is something that, I don't mean just TV, like attendance. Like there's more eyeballs on that race in person than, well, many events ever get on TV. So when you combine eyeballs and combine ratings and combine the month-long affair that it is, wow. A lot of eyeballs for the Indy 500. Andrew, how many Factory X cars will be running by the end of the year? There was 8 this weekend. Well, I believe the intention is to have 8-car fields throughout the rest of the year. I don't think you're going to see that field number change for the races that they have remaining. And I believe their next one that they are going to be at is Chicago in competition. I think that's good. I don't think you just want to just grow it and it does some wonky thing with points because they are running for a championship this year. But I think the 8 you had, you're going to continue to see them, and you might see a few more come out and they qualify for an 8-car field. But I haven't heard of any others being built. Certainly, all of a sudden, boom, here they pop out another one. And man, what beautiful race cars they are. I took some photos I'm going to post later on my Instagram. I mean, nothing fancy photo-wise, but I was looking at that Varsity Ford, the orange and blue one, that Mustang that they brought out. Man, that is a pretty car. The Rod Shop, Chevrolet, beautiful car. The Blackbird, beautiful car. They're all such a good-looking drag car. Good stance. Great class. I certainly hope that it will continue to grow, and it's going to continue to evolve. They're still figuring out how to make these cars run and to do so efficiently, to do so effectively, to do so putting on a good show. It's a new class, so they're still figuring things out. And we've got it this good, this early. No telling what it's going to be like down the road for Factory X. Dave W., hey man, after reaching his 50th career win, where will Matt Hagan rank when it comes to all-time funny car greats? He is certainly in the discussion. I think easily we have to put him in the top 10 of just funny car drivers. I don't think he slides in the top 5 quite as of yet. But when you factor in wins and championships, and also he has set records in his career, been a part of that, drove those race cars. Without giving it too much thought, without taking it stat by stat and comparing to others, I'd say let's drop him 6th or 7th right now. How about that? What does everybody think right now about Matt Hagan? Top 10, 6th or 7th, or would you put him higher? Put in the comments section. Congratulations to Matt Hagan on his 50th career win. I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like we've had Matt Hagan around that long. But yet you think about it, he is a veteran just as much as any of them out there in the class and getting it done. And it has also been interesting to see him transition and continue to get it done from Schumacher to Tony Stewart Racing. And they've got something good going on over there. That team has stayed together for so many years, and they keep putting a good product on the track. And Matt certainly can drive, and he goes out there, he cuts the lights, and he gets the job done when it is necessary. And you cannot take that away from him. He is certainly a great one out there in NHRA competition. And we have, right now, in Funny Car, we have some of the best to ever do it competing and duking it out in NHRA competition. You know, right now we don't have them, but Robert Height being out there, Ron Capps, with John Force, with Matt Hagan, it is certainly an impressive time to see all these people competing at such a high level against each other. Very quickly, yes, Greg, congratulations to him on win 105. A lot of folks, 5, 6, you know, if Hagan is 6th, who is above him in your opinion? Well, I think you obviously got Force. I think you got Capps. I think you have Robert Height. And I think you have Don Perdome. I think you have those type of characters that are ahead of him. Lonnie V, his list is Forrest, Perdome, Bernstein, Capps, and Beetle. Okay, cool. That's good. Yes, we've got Rickie Smith in the green room. We're going to transition to him in just a moment. Dave W. says, in the same respect, Sean Bellemere ties Tony Bartone and Top Alcohol Funny Car wins. How many more can he achieve? Next on the list is Bob Newberry. I think before he's done, Sean will surpass Bob Newberry. I think he certainly will. And I mean, I don't think you're going to surpass Frank Manzo, but I think Sean ending his career over 50, I could see that. I don't see Sean stopping driving anytime soon. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. And right after the break, we will transition to having tricky Rickie Smith on, that threw us all into the trick of his career and competing in Competition Eliminator in the NHRA. Mark, let's take that question after we are done with Rickie right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S.
Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away.
Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
Rickie Smith, man, welcome to the show. Good to see you again. Uh-oh. We got technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Rickie? I can't hear you, but apparently you can hear me. Uh-oh. All right, Rickie, I'm gonna drop you out. You can go work on it, okay? We'll try this again in just a moment. Stuff happens. We've had Rickie on before, and it has worked out. We'll give him some time and see if we can get worked out right here in this moment. Technical difficulties, live show can happen. Cam, that's funny. Rickie will get it worked out. We've had him on before and had some great conversations. Well, as we're waiting for Rickie, and we'll talk about the Manifold debacle later. That's a deeper conversation, I think. And we'll give Rickie some time here to try to figure things out as we've got him in the green room, and certainly look forward to a conversation with him in just a few moments, hopefully. Thoughts on Dana White possibly buying into NPK, which is heavily rumored right now. Why not? Dana White is an entertainer, and he has been able to grow the platforms that he is involved in, and they have become flagship brands in what he is involved in. And being a businessman, he sees that this apparently is a popular and good venture, and there are storylines similar with that crowd to even the UFC type crowd, if you will. So I think you look at that, you look at the entertainment value, there's something to work with. He realized, and I think they understand how much of a show and how much of entertainment it is. Yes, it is competition, but all of this, every competition, from stick and ball to any other sport that you can imagine, it is all in some shape, form, or fashion entertainment. I mean, it may not be entertainment to the masses on television, broadcasted internationally. It might be down to the local level. I think last night, me and the girlfriend, we took time to go get a meal, and happened to be bingo night at the barbecue place that we went into. Well, she wanted to play bingo. Is that televised? No. Is it a form of entertainment? It still is. So even though it's a small competition, something like that, bingo, nonetheless, it is still a form of entertainment, entertaining to the people partaking. I certainly think they see the value in the NPK and its entertainment value. Why not buy into it? No telling where it might go. They might be able to work out new TV deals for them, things of that nature. Who knows? So, folks, we are waiting on Rickie. He was in the green room. We brought him on, but there were technical difficulties. He could hear us, but we could not hear him. So we are hoping that Rickie is going to be able to pop back in, and we'll be able to converse with him briefly on his competition eliminator run, which earned him an NHRA Wally at the 4 Wide Nationals at Z Max Dragway. Oh, let's see. In the comments section here, I am scrolling through. Let's see what we can pick up as we wait for Rickie. Will Rickie run any pro mod this year? I don't know. I did plan on asking him. Hopefully we get to do that. And I would love that you'd be able to make the trip and see Rickie run. Don, thanks for checking in, man. I know you're looking forward to the drag races there at Route 66. I know you're looking forward to it. Andrew, how impressive has this run by Gage Herrera been? I believe the last time he lost was Maple Grove last year. It is a run that ranks up there with the greatest runs in the sport, no matter the class. It is certainly impressive. That's where it ranks. May not be Nitro, may not be a door car, doesn't matter. Professional drag racer, it ranks up with the best of them, for sure. And it appears right now that not much of anything can be done, and not much of anything does anybody have for him in competition. It seems right now that it is a matter of Gage Herrera beating himself. I know without a doubt that you've got people working extremely hard to catch and to level the playing field. That's why I really was hoping we'd have Steve on. That didn't work out for whatever reason, schedule-wise. But I wanted to chat with him. Steve's someone that has been in the class for so long and has competed at this high level professionally for so long. He has seen people come and go. He's seen great performances. He's seen people get on runs. He's seen all the chatter and heard all the chatter of rules and changes and performance here and lack of performance there. Certainly wanted to get his take on it. Hopefully in the future we will be able to do so. But concerning Gage Herrera, it ranks up there with the greatest runs that we've seen in professional drag racing. Mark, what is your personal top 5 tracks? And we also got an update from Competition Plus TV. That would be Bobby Bennett. Rickie is going to the shop, so he's trying to transition to the shop. And he wants to come on the show and talk about this competition eliminator run that he was able to garner a win at the 4 Wide Nationals. Back to Mark. What is your personal top 5 tracks? And since we are talking drag racing, I will limit it to the drag strips. Been to plenty more race tracks and could throw in the top 5 other type of racing facilities, but we will keep to drag strips. What is your personal top 5 tracks? Let me say, putting in the top 5 of tracks is tough for me. There are so many great facilities, and also for me, when I say great facilities, they don't have to be a Z-Max. For example, Z-Max is not in my top 5. I am more concerned about fan base, their interaction, and the uniqueness of a particular venue. And though Z-Max Dragway truly is the Bellagio of drag strips, it, compared to others, in my opinion, is quite a commercialized, quite a sterile facility, if you will, compared to something such as a Summit Motorsports Park, which is a tremendous facility and has a flair and homeliness to it that makes it, in my opinion, a more enjoyable facility than even a Z-Max. Now, for my top five, I, and ranking them 1 to 5, that'd be tough too. I've got to throw out that one of them is Eddyville Raceway Park in Eddyville, Iowa, just outside of Oskaloosa. Gerald Kramer and son Kyle, they do such a tremendous job. I love Eddyville Raceway Park. I love going there each and every time for Chaos or World Fuel Altered Nationals. It is a facility that I think everybody has got to take the time to soak in. So picturesque. You're out there in the cornfields of Iowa, and the hills that are in Iowa's actually like not all flat. There are hills, and they're like rolling hills out there in Eddyville, and you're surrounded by cornfields. And then you got Oskaloosa, the main little principal town near the track, and it's such a picturesque town with this Americana square. I love going to Eddyville. Eddyville is one of my favorites. I also enjoy going to Galot Motorsports Park. It is, in my opinion, the premier 8th mile facility, dedicated 8th mile facility in the country, if not the world, for all I know. It has everything that a premier track should have. It's just in an 8th mile setting. Great grandstands, great tower, great amenities, and amenities that are spectacular for fan, racer alike. Also, multi-purpose facility. I will throw that in, though I'm sticking to drag racing, but I do like multi-purpose facilities, and they have tractor pulling there on the grounds as well. But they can do it all, from concert to drag race to tractor pulling, and the way they just set things up, it's very fan friendly. Great cafe. The surface is great. It's all around. The way they did the time boards at the end of the track, really enjoy going to Galot Motorsports Park. So Eddyville, Galot, I will have to put in the top 5. Summit Motorsports Park, there in Norwalk, Ohio. The way that it is themed out, like where you go to concessions, it's not just, concessions and it's a white building with a red counter, the classic look, and you just got a menu board. No, it's all themed out. And, it's a saloon for where you get your burger, and the ice cream parlor is themed. I love how they've themed everything out. The bathrooms are nice. You can find a shade tree to get under, and there's grassy areas even within the pits that you can have a little picnic if you wanted to and enjoy yourself. The attendants are always attending and alert and able and willing to help you. It's also got a great view angle-wise in the grandstands. And from a filming perspective, a lot of great filming spots, from the media tower to the very top of the grandstands to the little wooden grandstands off to the big ones. So I think Summit Motorsports Park is one in my top 5. Well, that leaves me with two more. I'll think about it. But at this point, we're going to transition. Rickie is in his shop. We'll take a break and get him on the Competition Plus Power Hour and chat with the winner of Competition Eliminator at the NHRA 4 Wide Nationals at Z-Max Dragway.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
Rickie, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Good deal, man. Look, glad for staying up with us. Thank you for the time. And first of all, congratulations. What an impressive win.
That was awesome. I'd have to say myself. I very surprised myself with that deal.
Man, look, not surprised of like you picking up a win. You're a winner. You've won in everything you've done in drag racing, except for Top Fuel, but you didn't compete in that yet. I'm still waiting on that. But, you'll get a win in that if you ever do actual competition. But, man.
Scott Palmer is determined that I'll drive one and qualify, but I don't know. I mean, I ain't getting no younger, let's put it that way.
That's right. But you did, I think, surprise us all. You stepped in the competition eliminator. And how did that come about? I know it was an off weekend for Pro Mod, but with your sponsors, Parkway, running a Pro Mod in competition eliminator, why? How? When did this wild idea come about?
Well, it's been planned probably, I guess, since November or December last year. I mean, I just went up, me and Junie, Michael that owns Parkway Ford, started talking again about this year, and he asked me what races I was going to run and this and that. And I said, well, I'd like to run probably 4 NHRAs and about 3 or 4 PDRAs, And so he said, well, I want you to run both Charlottes because Junie, Michael, and his brother Tim, they own about 18 or 19 dealerships around in Greensboro, Raleigh, Durham, Lexington, Winston-Salem, all around down in here. So Junie has Ford, Chevrolet, Jeep, and Cadillac dealerships. And naturally, Junie's a Ford man. So that's the reason we started running back. Junie was on my car back in the 80s when I won Pro Stock Championships in NHRA. He was on back of my car then when I had Motorcraft. So we've been friends since the 80s. And he stepped up and started helping me right after COVID. He owned Capital Chevrolet and Wake Forest, so we put Capital Chevrolet on the Chevrolet. And then he said, well, the next year if you're going to sponsor, he said, I want you in a Ford. So I said, well, we can build that too. So he's been behind me with a Ford, and they're not running Pro Mod this year at the first 4-wide. So I called him back the next day. I said, hey, I'll run both Charlotte races. He said, well, you said they wasn't going to run the first race. I said, well, Pro Mod's not. I said, but I can run comp. He said, what's comp? I said, well, all I can tell you is, Junie, I would more likely be number 1 qualifier. And after that, I ain't got a clue what's going to happen. So him and Tim come down Saturday. They always like to come on Saturday, which that was first round of elimination for us. So him and Tim, his brother, Tim, Michael, has some business dealerships with Bob Tasca. So they're very good friends. So they get to come and hang out with him and hang out with me. So that worked out good. And then Junie got to watching me run first round eliminations and win. And they were excited, and they left. And then when I ended up winning the race, it was just pretty unreal. But that's the way I ended up coming to Charlotte twice, is Junie and them wanted their car down there. And luckily there was a class that I could run in. And that's how I got into competition eliminator, because I didn't know about no long tree and all that type stuff. And so, I started racing, in Sportsman and Breakout and Super Stock Eliminator around here and this and that. That's the way I started racing in 73. So it took me back to some old days, but I'm in a car that's probably running 130 mile an hour faster than I was running back in then. I was probably running about 120 back in. So, you take a pro mod car that's capable of running 250 mile an hour and try to bracket race with it, I'd say that's a pretty tough deal. And I hadn't done it. So the first round, I didn't know what to do. I just tried to stay focused on the tree, and I was a little late because I didn't want a red light. I knew I had that guy run pretty hard. So I caught him, but I didn't let out quick enough. And you can't go down there. I done told myself, do not go down there and hit the brakes, because you're running 250 mile an hour in a car like that. You don't touch the brake pedal. You want to get the chutes out really before you hit the brake pedal. So I'd shut it off right behind him as I caught him. Like at 5:01 in the run, it says I was off the throttle, and I went 590. So I got hit 2700s in. Then the next run, I had to run a little farther to catch that guy, and I got hit 700s. And in the semis, I just run the 8th mile and shut it off. And so we were down to, I couldn't run 6/10 under no more. And luckily, the guy that I had to run the finals, I found out he had hit his index in the semis, so he couldn't run 600. So it was really a really good race. Both of us had O2 lights, and it was a pretty awesome final round. I didn't have nobody covered. Like, I watched those races, and usually the people win or running 6/10 under and something like that. So I just went out and done the best I could, and lo and behold, I come a win light.
That it did. And yeah, Rickie, Bobby put an article on competitionplus.com, and he stated that it was the first time that you have raced a sportsman tree, a 5/10 tree, since 1974.
That's what I remember. Brett says I have done something other before then, but I can't remember, because I went into super modified in 1976, and super modified run on a pro tree. So 74, 75, somewhere right in there was the last time I remember running on a long tree. And even when I run back in, I remember on a long tree around here, we had 3 bugs back in. They didn't have, and it was a 3/10, I believe, or 3 or 4/10, bugs coming down. Because I remember back in, if you had to spot a guy like 500 or 600s or 700s, they didn't have blinders, and you could see, you leave with his bug and not red light, because we didn't know nothing about reaction times and all that back in. So back when I started this stuff, and I know a lot of guys that's started when I did and remembers all that, man, I remember leaving on his bub. If it was like 700s or less, he got a head start, I'd leave on his bub, because we didn't know, we wasn't good enough to red light back in, on the tree. So that was kind of the way we all got started.
Well, Rickie, as you explained how this all came about, wow, for your marketing partners, this was genius. And I mean, you got more attention out of this than I think you ever would have running in Pro Mod. Even if you had one Pro Mod, I don't think you'd be getting the attention that you have got through this one, competing in competition eliminator and actually winning it. Impressive, man. Great, great move on the chessboard of drag racing to get it done.
It worked out really good for everybody. I mean, I know we've got a lot of ink out of it. I told several people today, absolutely, I've probably got minimum twice the texts, phone calls, it looks like media stuff than I've ever got winning a Pro Mod race, just stepping in and winning this deal. But I a lot of people has text me that didn't do it with Pro Mod. There are people, I think, that realize how hard it is to win in competition eliminator, okay? And for me to go away with a fast car like that and pull this off, it was very impressive. And I think a lot of people that knows racing, let's just say one guy texted me that a lot of people of you know is Mike Lewis. works for Schumacher, drives alcohol dragster. He texted me and congratulated me. He said, man, I was so excited and just I was watching what was going on with you every round. He said it was just awesome to watch what was happening there, So people like that was watching. That's pretty impressive.
It is, certainly. And, well, you're deserving of it. I think it just goes to show how good of a drag racer you are, Rickie, that you deserve all those Hall of Fame accolades and everything you've got done. You certainly deserve it. And you keep showing in different ways that you are a capable drag racer, even to this very day. Rickie, Andrew is asking, how did you tune the car differently, if you did, from what you might do in Pro Mod trim, or did you just go out there and, as you kind of explained, played it as you're on the track running the thing through the lights?
Yeah, it was. Well, first thing, I just run it on 5 systems. We normally run 6 systems, so I just kept it on 5 systems in qualifying, and I kept it. And the track got a little warm on Sunday, and I just had to be easy getting the car that high. If the sun would have stayed out like it comes Sunday morning, because when we got up Sunday and 8, 9 o'clock and all that sun was bright and things were getting hot, and I told the guy that was with me and my wife, I said, look, it's going to be tough today if that sun stays out. I said, the cars with lower horsepower, now they're going to pick back up and kind of probably have an advantage on me as far as getting down every time, because when you take a car this kind of power and that track gets kind of shitty, you're just not going to be as consistent, okay? But luckily the sun went back in and clouds come back over about 11 or 12 o'clock, and I was getting pretty happy then. I said, and NHRA, they done an awesome job all weekend managing that racetrack and keeping it in good shape. I mean, it never got wet and gooey, and it's heads up to them for keeping that racetrack in really good shape, down there. That's probably, and I even heard Kurt Johnson, which does track prep, not Warren's son, but a guy that does track prep stuff. Me and him even talked, and he said, man, this is the first time I've been down here forever, I think, and seen this racetrack hold rubber on the start line, no ball spots. Maybe the old concrete finally got cured in down there, but that racetrack stayed good, and that helped a ton on me being able to be consistent and get down a racetrack with that kind of horsepower. So that was a big thing. And after I'd hit the index a couple of times and all, and luckily I got the bye run in the semis. Well, I turned the 6 on late than I normally would as far as pro mod racing. But I figured it would pick me up 200 or 300, turned it on that late. I said, I better get what I can get. And I did, and it looked like to the 8th of mile it was going to run better. So I just shut it off and come back and run the finals and hope for the best, And I mean, it was pretty awesome, to sit there and have an 034, an 032, and an 028 light in the finals. I wished I could be that good on the pro tree. I'd be tickled to death, So it was just meant to be. It's one of them deals. You can't, can't brag on myself, can't brag on nothing. It just meant to be. It meant to happen. I have won a lot of races that I thought I was going to not have a chance in my career, and I've lost a lot of races I thought I was a shoe-in. So this is just racing, man, and I'm just thank God that I have had the ability to keep hanging in there and be 70 years old this year and still doing this stuff and running a fast car. That's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, I'm getting on up in age, but I'm still in a very fast door car, and that's hard to do. I don't care who's in that car. That's hard to chase somebody down running 100 mile an hour faster than they are and get out of it at the right time, because a nitrous car, once you get out of it, you just can't jump back the throttle. And you go down there and pull the parachute when you pass the guy. Well, the parachute hits so hard, he'll go back by you. So it was a good deal. I enjoyed it. It was stressful to me, but when it's all said and done, I told my wife, I said, it's probably the most fun or the most impressive to myself that I have done in a long time doing that on Sunday.
What has been the take from your fellow pro mod competitors, though? Have they rang you up and been like, dude, what are you doing?
No, you know, they hadn't really said anything, you know. I mean, Travis Harvey texted me and congratulated me, you know. I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but those guys hate me. They despise me, and that's fine because I ain't done nothing but race them hard. And when I show back up again, I'm gonna race the hell out of them again. If they don't like me, then so be it. But Rickie Smith is nothing but a hardcore racer. It's the way I make my living. And you think I'm gonna change? Bullshit. I'm coming back just as hard. Maybe I'm getting old and can't cut a good light, guys, to run with you. But one of these days, you guys will get 70. And I'm going to say most of you, probably 98% of you, when you get 70, won't even be driving these cars. So I could care less about what my pro mod, NHRA pro mod guys think about me. I don't really care. I tell you what I do love, every one of them, not every one of them, but I had a half a dozen of them at least come up to me down at the comp guys I was racing against. And I told them, I said, guys, I don't want to piss nobody off. And every one of them said no. The ones that talked to me said, absolutely not. We appreciate you being you. You're bringing exposure to our class. And I said, guys, nobody's going to run this index. So I'm not hurting anybody with this index, only myself. So I had more people in my class talking to me down there than I do in NHRA Pro Mod, and that's fine. I love it.
Well, I'm glad that you were well received, and I'm sure there were many. I saw a few negative comments on social media of some people even thinking that way. Oh, you're going to hurt the index and all that. But man, if you were so well received by the competitors in the class, because they are right. I mean, that much more exposure for Competition Eliminator and exposure for your marketing partners in a time frame for Competition Eliminator where, you know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, there was the talks of it just going away completely. And here it is so strong with Roger Brogdon and what he's doing with the money and you pulling this stunt off, winning in Competition Eliminator and bringing exposure. So cool for the totality of the class. And naturally, I've got to ask, well, are you going to do it again anytime soon?
I don't have any plans to do it, you know, for sure. You know, David Nickens helped me some, you know, just explain what was going on, you know, and different things like that. And, you know, me and him talked back and forth over the years, and David helped me kind of explain what was going to happen and what was going on. But you know, nothing. I don't think anybody could prepare me for what was happening on top end as fast as I was reeling them guys in. I mean, my main goal was every time before I put the pre-stage on, I wouldn't put it on. I just sat there a minute and I said, look, stare at the tree. Don't pay no attention to no car leaving over here in your sight. Look at the tree. And I did. I made myself stay focused on the tree because I could hear them leave because I wasn't on the chip. But that was gone, and I stayed focused on that tree, you know, because as soon as my tree would start down, you know, you got 3 lights. As soon as my top bulb would start on, I would put it on the rug. And then I wouldn't even look at the second one. I tried to take my eyes straight to the bottom one. And that's what I was kind of staying focused on. And then I was kind of making, I don't know how I made myself do this much because I can't do it in Pro Mod, but I was making myself stay focused the first 200 feet where I was at on the racetrack. Because if you get behind driving these cars, you're not going to get them back in the groove. And luckily my car just made some nice straight runs down there, you know, a little bit out, but, you know, but it was going where it should be going at 200 feet. 250 feet, and then I would kind of look up and see where they were at. And the first time I run somebody that I'd spotted was first round elimination. I looked at that guy and he flashed the 8th mile. I said, there ain't no way I'm going to catch that guy. I had no idea how fast I was going to close on him. But, man, by the time I got around 400, 500 feet, it was ridiculous how fast I closed the gap on them people. And it was unreal, especially that first car, because that's when I had all the 667 to run off of. And, man, I mean, I caught him right before the 1,000, and I was out of the throttle. I was out of the throttle at 501, and that was right at his back bumper. I just picked the throttle off. I wouldn't pull the chutes and hit the brakes, and I still went 590. And I said, I was so pissed at myself. I said, which I didn't know what I could do. You didn't give it 2 qualifying runs, so I didn't get a chance to practice and see where I need to let off at. And I just played it the rest of the time, and tried to let off, But in the finals, I thought I'd lost. I mean, this is 50 years of racing and 42 or 3 for a living. And I told the boy on the other end, I thought he beat me because I run to the last light. I don't even pay attention to that first light, and that's a mile-an-hour clock, okay? And I realize that now, but I always run to the last light, And when we got down there, I'm looking and I'm watching. I'm coming. I know I ain't going to get him, but I was looking at the first light. And when we got to the first set of lights, I said, he beat me. I said, he beat me. I felt like he beat me by a foot or something. I just felt like his nose was in front of me. And by the time I don't, that's just saying that 2 or 3 tenths of a second, you done to the finish line. Well, I throwed the chutes, and just by the time my chutes hit, I saw my light come on the guardrail over. I said, "Are you kidding me? I won this race." And but I thought I had actually lost it. I thought he beat me, but he did beat me to the first light, so I passed him right between them 2 lights. That was pretty awesome, because we were both all out. He done hit his index, I done hit mine, and we were just trying to get to the finish line, first. And pretty amazing.
It certainly is, Rickie. And with you stepping in and stomping on the loud pedal in a top fuel dragster last year at Virginia Motorsports Park, then naturally I got to ask, like, when's the jet car, the funny car, and riding on Matt's bike? I mean, that's all that's left, I think, right?
Well, riding his bike ain't gonna happen. Funny car, actually, people. See, I've been out here a long time. I mean, you may not even been born, but anyway, that's where a lot of these people don't realize how long I have been here. A lot of these younger guys that I raced with or against over in NHRA or whatever, they hadn't seen me maybe what you would call my prime, okay? They hadn't seen all that. I mean, I didn't beat Warren Johnson, Bob Glidden, Ronnie Sox, Harold Denton. I didn't beat these guys by accident. Right. They're all great. They're all legends. They're badass racers. And I could beat those guys, not all the time, but I mean, I could beat them and they beat me. So I guess they just think I come along here in the last 10 years and I'm just some stroke, but no, I've been racing a lot of people. I got to race Ronnie Sox and Joe Lapone and Lee Edwards and all them type people. I mean, I'm proud to knowing I'm still alive and still capable of running this fast and racing against badass racers that race fast, and I'm proud of that, very proud of that. And but when I was getting back about the funny car, I had won Bristol in Pro Stock, and I'm not sure about the time at all, but I know it had to be maybe early 90s. I'm not sure. Bartone could tell you, or his crew guy, Boggs. They won Alcohol Funny Car by that weekend. I won Pro Stock. We were all pitted down there. This was at the old facility before they done all the updating. And I'd got a wild hair that I might want to drive a funny car back in, and stuff. And so we got to talking, and I said, guys, they talked about claustrophobia when they pull that body down and all that stuff. And I said, I'd like to make a run in a car, in a funny car. Was alcohol car or funny car? Just the same thing with body. I said, I'd like to make a run just to see what I think, And we got to talking and we both won. And I don't know if it's Bartone or Boggs one said something about, we was talking. I said, hey, what would y'all charge me to let me make a run Monday? If we just stay here Monday and make a run. And we hammered around a little bit. And I don't know which one of them said. It said $1,500. I said, 50, which, that was early 90s, I mean, $1,500 back then is probably like 10 grand now or something, But I said, yeah, let's do it. Heck yeah, I'm going to do it. Well, the word got out. I know Tim and Beth Hite stayed. There was a lot of the manufacturers on Manufacturers Row. 3 or 4 of them or 5 stayed. There was probably, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 people stayed just to watch me run this car, on Monday morning. And I got in the thing. They said, well, get in it and ride. We're going to put the body down and pull you. We were parked down on the top end next to the scales back in. They said, we're going to pull you down and pull you up the staging lanes and let you get a feel for it. I said, okay. So we done that. Got up there. And I told them, I said, just as soon as I come out of the water, let me go. Let me go ahead and hit the throttle and go. Because I see some guys sometimes that roll too far and they hit the throttle and it wouldn't jump up on a tire and all that. I said, let's just do that. I said, okay. So I done that, done a nice burnout. I mean, I've always been able to manage a throttle without being on a 2-step. I'm a guy that can do that. So I done a nice burnout for them. And now this is a clutch car. This is a car that you got to swap feed in. All right. So back up, and they told me they'd pull me up, stop me, and they'd set the wheel at bar, and they'd tell me when I could go. So I back up, and I'm sitting there. And they pulled me back up, where they probably normally set the wheel at bar, within a foot or so of staging. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there. I'm thinking, what is going on? I'm thinking, oh, Lord, something's happened. Well, finally, they come up there and let me go. And I friggin' brought the motor up, swapped feet. I made a full quarter-mile run. And if I ain't badly mistaken, I run within 1,200 to a 10 of what they run and won the race. And Boggs told me, he said, we had to detune it some, but he said, you can't and I understand that now with big tires, you can't detune them but so much, they'll shake if you do that. And we made an awesome run. And I pulled the chutes and stopped middle of the ways down the shack because I pulled the chutes early like I do mine. I shouldn't have done it on that one because it would run a lot faster than I was back in. It's running like I am now. But anyway, I'm stopped on the track and about knocked the breath out of me when I pulled the chutes. I wasn't ready for that hard a hit. And they come down there and Boggs and them, they all had a fit. Boggs said, you're lying to us. He said, there ain't no way you got in this car and done a burnout like that and then swap feet like that and made a run. He said, I said, Boggs, I ain't drove no car. And Beth and Tim Hite, they'd come down. They said, no, we know him. He ain't been in nothing like that. But I have been in a funny car, made a hit. So I've been in the dragster, pro stock, pro mod, super stock, modified. But I ain't getting on no motorcycle. I'm too big now to ride a motorcycle. That motorcycle leaving, I'd be sitting back there right where it was at. It'd run right out from under me. I'm too big to drive. Now, Top Fuel Harley, they don't leave as hard as Matthew. Now, I might would drive a Top Fuel Harley, but I ain't gonna get on no motorcycle leaves like that. I got enough sense to know I can't do that.
Well, I'm glad I threw that out there. Did not realize you had been in a funny car, and with covering Top Alcohol Funny Car a lot, I interact with Mr. Boggs a good bit. I'll have to get his take on it one day. That'd be a cool story to hear from his side as well.
Yeah,
look, Rickie, last question for you. Thank you for your time. I know it's getting a little later. Everybody's wondering, Pro Mod itself, when can we expect you in that hot rod in Pro Mod trim?
I will be at Bristol. We'll be running Mike Thielen, renting my Camaro, the helicopter guy, and he's rented it to run all 10 races and run for the points. but I will be in Bristol with both cars. I'll be driving at Bristol. I will drive at Virginia, and I'll drive at the last Charlotte in Pro Modified. And I'm going to run PDRL Bristol. I'm going to run PDRA Galat and PDRA at Virginia at the end of the year. So I've got some more races I'm going to run, before I hope to retire, is all I can say.
I like that. Hope to retire. Rickie,
I
again.
love it. I love it. I mean, I love what I do. I mean, my wife's been at the hospital for 48 years as a nurse, and I think she's finally going to retire this year. I think we both realized we need to slow down and find something else. I mean, as bad as we both love what we do, we've been very fortunate to do what we love to work. And I mean, it's bad when you don't want to quit working. A lot of people just live to retire. I am really despising to retire. She is too, but it's time for both of us to do it, and hopefully we can live a few more years and go see a few things and have a good time together, because we have been married 52 years, but I've been on the road a lot. She works at hospital every day. May not have been married 52 years. We had to stay together all the time.
Rickie, congratulations once again, adding that much more to your Hall of Fame career of what you've been able to accomplish in drag racing. And I know you're not done even yet. So for the rest of 2024 and beyond, keep up the good work and keep winning, man.
It's just awesome to be able to pull a win off, especially in the NHRA. We all know it's not that PDRA ain't got badass drivers. They got good of people as anybody. But we all know NHRA is like NASCAR versus Xfinity. NASCAR is a big field. NHRA is the big field. I don't care if you run a stock eliminator. You're in the baddest of the baddest can be when you're in NHRA. And when you go over and win a race, there's nothing no better.
Rickie, have a good night, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me on, and thank all my fans.
Rickie Smith, winner of not Pro Mod, Competition Eliminator at the NHRA 4 Wide Nationals at ZMAX Dragway. Again, Rickie, congratulations, and thank you for coming onto the show. We are so glad we got some technical difficulties worked out there, and we are able to chat with tricky Rickie Smith, throwing another trick out there to all the competitors in drag racing. No telling where he might show up next and run that Pro Mod, rules allowing. Never know what we might see from him. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll take one more break. I'm going to come back, and I do want to take the time to answer about the Manifold debacle, and we'll end the show on that. We'll be back just a moment.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
Manifold Destiny. Well, maybe not. Playing off Manifest Destiny, but nonetheless, what an interesting situation for the NHRA, and in particular Bob Tasca III, NHRA Nitro Funny Car competitor, concerning the Manifold. This is a situation that apparently goes back to Gainesville. All of this can better be described by Bob himself. Apparently, Bob is the one that broke the news. He broke the news on a live stream on NHRA you can find it on Facebook, you can find it on YouTube if I remember correctly. It's the Insider Podcast done live at the track. By the way, so glad the NHRA is doing that with Brian Lones and Tony Petragon. But he breaks the news that they might be, well, not racing because apparently his manifolds are illegal. And he made the statement that that run was, his runs that had him qualified have been disqualified, and that I might pack up my stuff and go. Well, from what we understand, what I understand, it has to do with the manifold being flowed. And basically you're testing, well, how much can pass through this thing. And, many entities such as Force and others, they have their own benches, but Tasca sends his manifold out. I believe it was Wilson, if I remember correctly, him saying Wilson manifolds. Someone feel free to correct me if I've got that incorrect, but they send out their manifold to be flowed. And whatever they do in that process at Wilson, there is a color change. And that color change, and apparently some media blasting possibly, that is something that the NHRA didn't like. Alan Johnson makes this manifold. I mean, just about everybody out there runs it. There was statements that there had been no dimensional changes. It's just whatever process that Wilson does is not approved. Don't run these manifolds. Now, something else that Bob in that situation stated that I find strange, and I would love to hear from the NHRA side what was exactly said. Bob's side is, we gave them our manifolds. Look at them after what happened at Bradenton and rumors swirling, I'm sure, with him running 341 plus. But they're looked at, they are given back to Tasca, and nothing was said about them being illegal. But Tasca makes a statement. Again, you can see all this live, or was live. You can see it on Tasca's social media. It's probably the easiest place to go find it. It's a separated post of him making this statement on the live edition of the Insider Podcast. But he states, hey, they gave them back. We run them. You never said they were illegal. But then he makes a statement that the NHRA said, well, we never told you to run them, or you could run them. Now, I think that is, in all of this, the most alarming. The most alarming is not that the NHRA has said we don't like the color change and don't run these. That, to me, is not the most alarming. Because if the NHRA wants to come down on you and say, we don't like this, don't run this, guess what, folks? They do make the rules. It's their sandbox, okay? What shocks me is, and what I find most concerning, is what apparently was thought to be official action and or statement was not, or it was reversed. So if I'm the competitors now in NHRA Mission Foods drag racing of the professional ranks, I want like written statements. Is my junk good junk in your eyes? Write it. Email me. I want a copy. That is what is most concerning about all this to me. Apparently there was, I have found it fascinating that there has been people online commenting and chiming in. And I've had them chime in on what I posted on Monday Morning Racer, playing off of Manifest Destiny and Manifold Destiny with the painting of, the settlers going out and, winning the West. But nonetheless, it has shocked me, people making statements such as, oh, he's cheating, cheater. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they throw on a manifold that they got from Steve Torrance and they go out there and they set the track record for mile per hour. If he's cheating, and I say if, because I don't know, and I don't know, but I'm saying if, it must not be in the manifold, it must be somewhere else. Maybe Aaron Brooks just knows how, along with Todd Okahara, to tune a car. Aaron Brooks is pretty good at giving people their top speed when he tunes for them. It's happened in the past. So, I really wonder, more than the changing of the color thing, everybody's talking about that. Fine. Nonetheless, as petty as it might be, if the NHRA says we don't like it, it's their sandbox, folks. End of discussion. I don't like how Bob says, we gave you our manifolds, you give them back, and we understand that we're okay to run them, and then later on, it's we don't like them, they're illegal, and we're disqualifying your run. That is what is most concerning to me, not a color issue. It's that process. It's those steps. Now, we've only heard from Tasca. I would love to hear from the NHRA side, more than just official press release. Here's a statement, and that's it. I doubt we'll ever hear that side. As Andrew mentions, Lonnie Grimm is an individual that, you could ask, you could probably get that story if he's able to share such information. Certainly, people are making statements, hey, this is getting back at Bradenton. Maybe. I don't know. Again, we can't definitively say anything because there's no paper trail, there's no smoking gun, there's no evidence of that. It certainly can feel that way, though. Again, my concern is not necessarily Charlotte, but what they were told at Gainesville, and then by the time we get to Charlotte, it's different. If I'm competitors, I want written statements from then on out, and emails and electronic records, and hold to what you are saying to us as competitors. That's my biggest concern in it all, honestly. I don't get it. Again, to me, I can't understand it. Again, if they're cheating somewhere else because they put on a manifold from Torrance and they go out there and they set a track speed record and he wins the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. It's got to be somewhere else then. So let me go into some of the comments very quickly here. Kroger Sucks 45, again, as I always say, the best name in YouTube. Big part of the problem is NHRA puts out a written statement. Then after that, all you hear is crickets from them. Seems to be a regular occurrence with them. I had a casual conversation with Joe Costello and just mentioned to him, it's like, man, seems like the NHRA takes two steps forward, and then there's one step back. It's just like it's continual with these rule announcements or procedure. I think back to Terry Haddock and what happened to him. Just understand how to handle something. Okay? I don't know. I don't get it. And I will say this, from what I've seen in the tower, from what I've seen with tech departments, I don't envy those people and being in that job. They have a hard job. And I also, remember, I really like what Aaron Brooks said. Aaron Brooks, they win the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, I think when they won it, and they get him on the mic, and he's like, look, we like the tech guys. We love them. A lot of them are friends. They're just doing their job. We get it. They get tacos too. And it makes you wonder, where's the directive coming from? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Competition Plus Power Hour. I'm Lee Kraft, flying solo tonight. Dujanet Bland is usually on with me, my co-host, but he was a little bit under the weather tonight. Hope you get better, Dujanet. We all hope to see you back here Tuesday for the Competition Plus Power Hour. Thank you, Rickie Smith, for your time. We also had Steve Johnson scheduled. That did not work out. Hopefully we'll have him another time and be able to chat with him right here on the Power Hour. Thank you all for watching. Hit that like button and hit the share button and return back here 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms for the Competition Plus Power Hour. Thank you.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.